After falling into a pit and waking up and finding a strange portal, I jump in and find myself stranded in this dry, dangerous desert. This is Minecraft Secrets of the Sands. It is now episode 7 and we have conquered 5 pharaohs. According to our theory, 5 pharaohs remain before we can escape this deadly desert. I found our next pyramid buried way underground, so I dug down to get it, and I was met with a ton of skeletons. So when you're in this situation, I recommend blowing them all up. It really gets the job done and it works super well if you don't blow yourself up in the process, which I tend to do a lot. After looting all of the chests on the main floor, I went down into the maze and started heading towards the sarcophagus room. I set off all the traps and placed the royal torches and spawned pharaoh number 1. This was apparently the first pharaoh. My guess was that pharaoh number 1 would be super powerful. In hindsight, that was not the case. Pharaoh number 1 was probably the easiest one to take down. It helped that I had a sharpness 3 enchanted sword, and I took it down very fast. This could have been a combination of me fighting a ton of pharaohs already, but I started to get the hang of it, and the pharaoh barely even touched me. I was pretty much just going through the pyramids, taking out the pharaohs super fast, and getting all of the loot because of it. So, after taking down pharaoh number 1, I went back to claim all of my loot. And this time, I got another Adam's Will sword, which was a little disappointing, but I ended up getting a few enchanted books that would help me along my journey. I made my way back to the surface and stumbled upon a crate with a regular golden date. I ate it because I've only tried an enchanted one, and it turns out it worked the same as a golden apple. After getting that achievement under my belt, I decided to power up all of my items with my enchanted books. I put sharpness 3 on my ancient dagger, and I decided to put fortune 2 on my ancient pickaxe. Finally, I had a power 4 book left over and I put it on Geb's grounding bow. But honestly, I didn't even have any arrows, so it didn't really matter. After running around for a little bit, I stumbled upon a trading tower. Last time, I forgot to try trading with the traders, so this time I gave the trader a sapphire brooch and he gave me some gold coins in return. The Sun Speakers barely had anything to offer, so I just gave them my 24 coins in return for 15 dates. I'm sure they needed the coins more than I did. I found my way into pyramid number 2, and I was very thankful that I didn't have to use any of my explosives to take out all of the mobs on this floor. I got a totem and I went down into the maze. I forgot I was running out of royal torches, but I had 4 left, and this is where things get interesting. The pharaoh I spawned happened to be pharaoh number 11. I got trapped in the corner and I was getting hit with the wither effect, but I got out and I started going on my process of taking down the pharaoh. There wasn't anything special about this pharaoh except for the fact that it was number 11. That meant the theory that I had before that there were 10 pharaohs was definitely incorrect. I took down pharaoh number 11 and I noticed that this pharaoh actually dropped something, similar to the pharaoh last episode. I went to go pick it up, and it turns out I got Geb's scepter, which was interesting because I had Geb's grounding as well. So maybe I fought Geb himself, who knows. I went back to the sarcophagus, and I got another mythic bow, which was called Tefnut's Rain. Apparently, every arrow that it shot split into multiple arrows. The only other thing I got was a sharpness 3 book, so I decided to combine it with my Adam's sword, and I got a sharpness 4 Adam's Will. As if taking down pharaohs wasn't getting easy already, I now had a very strong sword. I found my way into pyramid number 3, and I just zoomed on down to the basement floor. I disarmed all of the traps because I tend to be pretty bad at avoiding them, and I found myself trapped in a bunch of phantoms. These are probably the most annoying mobs in the game, and no matter how strong my stuff was, I couldn't seem to avoid them. But I tanked through all the damage, and I took him out. I found myself the sarcophagus room, and I spawned pharaoh number 15. Now, this was getting a little more tricky. The fact that I already fought pharaoh number 11, and now I'm fighting pharaoh number 15. That means there are a lot more pharaohs than expected. Except this time, my sharpness 4 Adam's Will absolutely shredded through this pharaoh with ease. This whole fight lasted only about 20 seconds, taking out these zombies included. I was very convinced that Adam's Will was one of the best weapons. I led myself back to the sarcophagus room and I found Tefnut's Call, which apparently strikes foes with lightning when thrown. It acted like a trident and I could throw it and pick it back up. I didn't have many plans on using it, but I decided to keep it anyways. And after going back to the surface, I ended up finding a 4th pyramid very quickly, except this one was way underground, so I had to break my way in. Of course, the mobs that spawned in this pyramid were all phantoms, and I could not run away from them. These mobs were just way too fast for me, and they hit you from super far away, but I took them out fairly easily, and I broke all the spawners. I was really hoping this sarcophagus would give me some more ancient armor, except I realized that my current armor was already depleting, so I picked up a pair of iron legs and combined them with my protection 3 ones so they wouldn't break. After bringing the anvil outside, I went back into the basement and started dying by a bunch of traps. That's really nothing new to me because I always get set off by traps. I went down to the basement and I was ready to take on the 4th pharaoh of this episode, and so far we have only taken out 3 pharaohs per episode. So this was quite an improvement. I mean, it was pretty easy to take out multiple pharaohs when you could take them out in each 20 seconds. But I definitely was not complaining because I was just getting so many mythical weapons, and on the other hand, I wanted to get out of the desert, and that meant taking down all of the pharaohs. I placed down all of the royal torches, and this time, pharaoh number 13 spawned. So this is a good sign that it didn't go over 15. But we still had a lot of pharaohs to go. I got in a good rhythm of doing critical hits against the pharaoh, and there was pretty much no chance that the pharaoh had. My sharpness 4 sword absolutely shredded through this pharaoh, and we took down our 4th pharaoh of the episode. If anything, fighting all of these mummies after the pharaoh was probably even harder than the pharaoh itself. But I wasn't complaining at all, because I was just getting loot. And this time, I found Anubis' Mercy, which looked like a necklace. It had a special effect called Soul Pact, and when I read it, it said when I die, I keep all of my equipment and my active items. So now, I pretty much have an extra life. But after figuring out that there's more than 10 pharaohs, who knows how many remain before we can escape this desert.